how it's coming through on YouTube just here and make sure it's working properly as it should be. Come on. Right. Yes, here I am. So, hello there, everybody. I'm Callan Johns, and welcome to this very special live stream where I'm going to be revealing my Star Wars Expanded Universe timeline and going through it in as much detail as I feel like going through each section at the time, but in a fair amount of detail. So, first comment we have here is Lethal Lightning, my body is ready. We will see if your body is ready. Right, so I'm also trying out for the first time StreamYard, so I have this ugly icon in the corner because I'm not paying $20 a month for it. That's cool. So I might wait a couple of minutes and make sure people are here, get a little bit of traction going. People should know I'm live around about now. And yeah, be good. Oh, I may as well give it a little bit of a start. I'm also waiting for Evan Gamble, who's my friend that helped work on the Clone Wars era section of my timeline, and he should be waking up sometime soon as well. And joining us for the Clone Wars section. All going well. But for now, I may as well introduce everyone to it who's watching. So, here's a definitive Star Wars Expanded Universe timeline by me, Callan Johns. And I've said definitive because have you ever looked at a timeline and searched for something, you can't find it? You're looking everywhere for a complete timeline of all of the Expanded Universe material, including everything from short stories, comics, even some in-universe source books and things, but you haven't been able to find them. Well, as for yes, let's do this. Lethal Lightning has said. I can bring up the comment right there. Woo! Let's do this. So, for this timeline, I have endeavored, to the best of my knowledge, to include every single piece of Expanded Universe material that is official. Now, there are timelines like Joe Bongiorno's Star Wars Timeline.net and the Star Wars Timeline Gold, but some of those are just either not practical, way too bloated, and other sorts of things. So, I'm going to make a start. So yes, this is version 1. I've versioned it because it's quite possible that I'll need to do another version, especially as I read through the comics more, because to be honest, I haven't read the comics as much. I mainly read the novels. So, cool. Here we have the table of contents, just to help organize things, make it nice and official. And the introduction. So, in my introduction, I have, if you're seeing this timeline without knowing what the Expanded Universe is, then here is a video I made with the definition, and that's a video that I made, and I'll chuck in the description as well later on. This list is intended to create a timeline of just the material, so not actually saying what the events are and that, like the Timeline Gold does, for people to use without splitting up the material, like Joe Bongiorno's Star Wars Timeline.net does. So it is more viable for reading and or experiencing the material as a whole, rather than, for example, stopping reading a book in the middle, say you read a couple of chapters, then going to something else, and then coming back to the same book. It doesn't make sense to me. I like to read a book all at once for that. And, of course, also for my own personal use, for how I would like to see it. So it's good. All right. I can see my cursor. That's good. So I've cross-referenced these timelines at the moment. And so Wikipedia's timeline of Legends Media, I copied that initially to be able to get as much of the content as possible. that may be missed by other timelines. There's also a timeline from all timelines that I had a look at and make sure that I got as much as possible. The Essential Reader's Companion, written in 2012 or published in 2012 by Publish Algo, has been very useful in making sure I get an official as possible guideline for where things go. And of course, Joe Bongiorno's Expanded Universe Timeline, which is StarWarsTimeline.net. And then Evan Gamble's expertise on the Clone Wars era, because basically he's the one that's been handling that, and hopefully he will join us later. And then also my own personal experience ingesting the material. So this is going from what priority I've given them. So of course, my own experience I give priority to on where I should place things, because I've first-hand experience reading it. And Evan Gamble's, I've taken the Clone Wars era over Joe Bongiorno's timeline. Joe Bongiorno's I've used as actually the primary source for the timeline compared to other timelines, because he's put a lot of work and effort into his, and so I've done the best I can to reconcile that rather than Wikipedia's timeline and all timelines. And the Essential Reader's Companion makes sense with Joe's timeline as well, as far as I've checked. Now, material is generally kept as one unit or piece of material, and are listed from where the beginning of the story proper takes place, well, generally speaking. There are a couple of exceptions I'll show later. And some material is placed for best viewing order. Which are those exceptions? I should say reading or viewing order, but yeah. The only exception to this is the Clone Wars era, because of the chronology of that specific era has been broken up into separate episodes of the 2008 show, as well as breaking up the chapters of the 03 microseries, the 2003 microseries. Hi J-Power, you're not the only one watching this live stream. Apparently there's 2 others. So that should be good. It's just seeing if people comment or if they're just letting me explain things. And the timeline marks items as officially as possible. So that means I'm not putting headcanon into it to line up with Lucasfilm's viewpoint before 2014. Now, what we also have here, going on to the next section, is a Galactic Standard Calendar. So given dates are according to ABY and BBY for after and before the Battle of Yavin, and using the in-universe calendar, which is a 10-month calendar. And so Evan actually had this already done up, so that was really helpful. And that should be coming up with numbers, but it's not. So fun times. But basically you got the days in the month there. And I don't know why it's not coming up with the numbers. I'll have a look into that and replace the link when I can. But basically, we've got a calendar that the source for the calendar is from the Star Wars role-playing game. It's the 2nd edition, published in 1992 by Bill Smith. And the 3 free weeks and holidays approximated, given lining up to real-world holiday events. Hello, Thictopus. So yeah, they should have numbers in them. But basically, there's the months, there's weeks. And yeah, like that should be Life Day. But I'll replace the link in the comments below when I sort that out after this stream. And so I've gone into categorization. So the coloring, movie big screen is this dark red, TV show or small screen is this dark blue, a comic or manga is a brighter red, video game is blue, dark, a medium blue I'll say. Adult novels are in black, junior novels are in a light green, short stories are orange, audio dramas are turquoise, light turquoise or aqua color. Children's books are a goldy color. Role-playing games are a purple. game books, which are mostly choose your own adventure games and decide your destiny. This color, this lighter blue. And the in-universe source books are a deeper gold, almost brown color. And in-universe items like propaganda and news articles, etc., are in pink. And we also have the official canon tiers, which apply to the expanded universe. So we have G in brackets for George Lucas canon, which are the movies basically. We have television canon, which really encapsulates the Clone Wars 2008 TV series, but that's what it officially was at the time. So as I said, I'm doing this as officially as possible, so that canon tiers there. Because my head canon would actually place T canon in S canon. And anyway, C for continuity canon, which is the main expanded universe timeline. S for secondary canon. So the way I view secondary canon is that the events happened, but details aren't exactly as you read or experience in the piece of material. For example, the old Marvel comics, the events happened, but the details aren't the same if they're mentioned by other material as well. And also, obviously, N is for non-canon. So things like the infinities things, they're called infinities. I could add an appendage to that, but if you're really into the expanded universe, you'll know what infinities are. So, Lethal Lightning has said LFL has never done anything like this. It's quite possible that they haven't, although they did keep the holocron that Leland Chi put together for keeping track of continuity. So they may have had something quite similar to it, but then later on they didn't worry about updating it as much. Could speculate on that, but yeah. So then we begin the timeline proper. So what we have first is the pre-Old Republic era, which is what I've called it. So this takes place before the formation of the Old Republic, which is in 5000 BBY, before the Battle of Yavin. And I've put year dates here as much as possible, and try not to break it down too much, because when you start breaking it down too much, it gets confusing. Yeah, tag and being his infinities as well. That's correct, Lethal. So, Dawn of the Jedi Force Totem number 1 has its own place back a bit. And then we have all the Dawn of the Jedi and basically Dawn of the Jedi stuff. There's a couple of short stories here, but mostly Dawn of the Jedi. The main one that I got to be honest, the only one I've actually read from this is Into the Void, because it's a novel. But yeah, it's good. So that's the pre-Old Republic era. Pretty small. It could really be expanded upon if they chose to continue the expanded universe. And it'll be really interesting to see more of what the Star Wars universe was like at that time. And so we go on to next, the Old Republic era, which take place from the formation of the Old Republic in 5000 before the Battle of Yavin until the Ruusan Reformations, which is in 1000 BBY. So what we have here is 5000 BBY, we have the Tales of the Jedi. And from what I know, they don't actually show the formation of the Old Republic. It's sort of in the Tales of the Jedi, it just exists. So there's a gap in between where you could tell that story if they ever chose to. Anyway, you got a bunch of the comics, which you'll notice this early stuff has a lot more comics than the later time in the timeline. So they really went ham on the comics here, which is awesome, because the Dark Horse comics are amazing. Definitely check them out. I'll continue. Lost Tribe of the Sith Precipice. These short stories that are Lost Tribe of the Sith are, of course, collected in Lost Tribe of the Sith, the collected stories. I should have capitalized that C. Little details on. But yeah, so Lost Tribe of the Sith Collected Stories, that's a full-on book collection of short stories, like the Tales of and Tales from books around the movies and stuff. So that's really handy to have them all in one. I thought I'd break these up rather than just read the book, because they were first released separately, plus it's good to know when you're jumping in the timeline between the stories that it doesn't, you do a big time jump and you know where they fit and if stuff's in between. And also, these galactic timelines are in universe. They're actually videos. I've uploaded the whole lot of the galactic timelines to YouTube if you want to check that out. Yeah, I've put all this together, Thictopus. For the ordering, I've relied on other people's timelines a fair bit. Each of the sections are divided up into the canon tier, the name of the item, the year it was released, and the author. And where I haven't got the author, I've got, like, for example, the Galactic Timelines here, narrated by Jedi Master Nyos Dural, which is really cool. But yes, if you look at my Star Wars The Old Republic playlist, I have the Galactic Timelines there. They give a really cool background to the Star Wars The Old Republic game. And yeah, broken that down fairly well. Got another Galactic Timeline there. Those all are part of one video when I've watched them, not separately, but it's nice to know that this is when the events took place as frames of reference. Then we got more Tales of the Jedi comics, and if you didn't know, they actually made an audio drama for this that was called Tales of the Jedi Knights of the Old Republic, which actually combined Ulic Qel-Droma and the Beast Wars of Onderon and the saga of Nomi Sunrider, which of course I've got in brackets Tales of the Jedi the Collection, and inside of that it was retitled Tales of the Jedi Knights of the Old Republic, which is what the audio drama here is called. Well, here's your lucky day, Thictopus. The only thing that would change about this timeline is the order that something's going. To the best of my knowledge, every single piece of Expanding Universe material is here. Now, if I'm missing something, that's my bad. I'll put it in the next version. Could be version 1.1 or 1.2 or whatever. And Tales of the Jedi Dark Lord, the Tales of the Jedi Companion, which is an RPG supplement, which is why it's purple, which is cool. And there's a short story there. Now, I listened to the Tales of the Jedi Dark Lords of the Sith audio drama. They have full voice cast and everything, and it's great. I love it. Definitely give that a listen if you're into... I'd say I personally haven't been able to get into audiobooks as much, but when they have full cast audio dramas, it's a lot better, and it's awesome. I love it. Excuse my coughing. Remember to drink water, people. Now, I will say, Lethal Lightning, you say I've soloed all of LFL. I have relied on other people's knowledge a fair bit, like Joe Bongiorno's timeline and that sort of stuff. But it's also not my job. I've done this as a hobby. So there we go. You got the Exar Kun War there, which basically recaps events in the back here, where they have Exar Kun turning to the dark side and all that good stuff. Jedi Protector, it says publishing Galaxy Magazine. Some of them you have to Google to get exactly what it is, because it's a bit tricky. The RPG stuff is the trickiest to try and place and to try and work out. And yeah, like you say, Thictopus, I'm only human, so I do the best I can, and this is still very comprehensive and definitive for everything that's there. Oh, Lethal Lightning, you said this is pure passion, more than LFL, dude. This is amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Lethal. That means a lot to hear that. I started doing this because I have a list that I wanted to compile of all of the Star Wars books that I needed to get. I slowly dwindled that down, but then I thought that I have this list of stuff anyway. I want to try and put it in order. And so then this was born. I started doing this. Oh, I will have to double check the time I created the document. I might do that just now quickly. I think it was April sometime. If I go to this one. And you, of course, still see the one tab because that's good how it shares it like that. If last edit was 8 hours ago to that. Yep. I was going through double checking a bunch of the pre-Clone Wars stuff because I did a lot better job when I was doing the later material. Yeah. So, hello, Stick. Oh, General Kenobi. I'm doing quite well. I'm really excited to be doing this. So April 28th, I started this timeline. And then it's become what it has after a lot of time of work and my free time. I've taken breaks, of course, as well, because sometimes you do so much and then it gets too much. It's like work. Your brain goes dead after a while. But yeah. So I'm going through. We have all of this good stuff with the Knights of the Old Republic comics as well. They're really good. And these holo feeds, which they're said to be in-universe propaganda, which is cool. And, of course, published in comics, because so much of this is comics. So I'll just keep short stories dotted here and there, but most of it comics. And you'll notice a lot of this propaganda. So, here's the first encounter of this. I put question marks where I don't know who actually wrote it. Oh, g'day, Gungam Fighter. How are you going? Welcome to my definitive expanded universe timeline. And to reiterate, definitive because it includes, to the best of my knowledge, every single piece of expanded universe material. So yeah, well, I put question marks where I don't know who actually wrote them. Oh, nice, Stig. Bought the KOTOR comics recently. I need to get onto getting some of the comics, but what I've focused on first is my novel collection, which, eek, the last of the junior novels are really expensive. I was looking at the adventure journals and it'd be like nearly $900 to get all of the 15 adventure journals shipped to me. Eek. And buy them. Yeah, really cool. And I'm also, as I'm going, once I finish the Marvel comics in my reviews, I'm going to be going to the Dark Horse ones and I'll start chronologically. So that'll be awesome. So I've got all these RPG pieces that were actually reprinted in the Knights of the Old Republic comics, which is really handy for collecting rather than having to get separate material for them. And basically all of that good stuff. Interference. Yeah, basically all the Knights of the Old Republic comics. And then the end one is War. And someone's made a comment as well. It's like Legacy of the Force. No, not Legacy of the Force. The Legacy comics. They ended up with Legacy War. Oh, here's an interesting question. Gungam Fighter. I'll bring that up there. So, hey, Callum, what would you like to see if the EU returned? So, if the EU returned, I would love to see the previous material given justice in the new stories. So, the quality of the stories would be very good. And also to fill in the gaps in the timeline, basically. Have endings for the stories that haven't finished, like Force Unleashed 2, you create, even just a Force Unleashed 3 book story. And yeah, there's huge gaps inside of a timeline in the Old Republic, so it'd be great to see that expanded. But fantasies, at the moment, it's unrealistic to expect anything from them. But they also need to do them justice properly, so it'd be good to get a change in mindset, I think, at the current way that Lucasfilm is run with the stories. Steve, you've asked, do you have the old D20 Cells RPG books? Personally, I actually don't own any of the RPG books because I actually never been able to play the RPGs, but I'd love to. I just haven't got them, and some of them I might get. So once I finish getting all the novels, I'm going to look at getting the source books and the RPG books, which would be really cool. So, working on my collection. Novels is my main focus because I'm a novels guy. That's why I haven't read a lot of the comics. But I've read from chronologically at the start, Wedge's Gamble, and my last review was Rogue Squadron, of course, of the novels. So, and then we have the Knights of the Old Republic video game. And then the Galactic Timeline here gives a summary of that. So if you're going into playing Souls of the Old Republic and you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic or read any of the previous material, the Galactic Timeline is your go-to for the setup of the universe. It's not a too long a video. It gives summaries of the events leading into Souls of the Old Republic video game. Then we have the novel Revan, of course, which the ending is divisive amongst people because they wanted to see Revan in a different direction for his story, but we have what we have now. And of course the Tales comic, which on note, you'd think a lot of the Tales comics would be end canon, non-canon in Infinities, but no. It depends on the specific one, because if they're not conflicting at all, then they can belong in C canon. Oh, here's an interesting question. How do you think Luke, Han, and Leia died in Legends, the expanded universe? A little bit of a loaded question. To be honest, I'm not sure what the official response would be because sorry, I'm not Lucasfilm. I don't have the management they have. I don't have the viewpoint they have from working with George Lucas for so long, and from the perspective of looking at it from a grand scale perspective sort of thing of how they wanted to connect them in. But for Luke, I'd like him to die I'd like him to be older, but he would die sacrificing himself to continue the Jedi, I think would be the best way to go about it. And I think that Ben Skywalker would have taken over the Jedi Order. I think Luke wouldn't be one to really sit back and let the events happen. He'd be of old age, but he'd still be trying to help, and so some part of that would be his downfall, most likely. Han, I think he'd go. I think a lot of them old age, but Han, his death would be connected with AG-37 somehow, who appears in the Legacy comics, and mentions that. Yes, I've read the Aeneas Solo run, which is why I'm mentioning him. The AG-37 connection to Han would be great, that he promised to look after the Solos, although it could be that AG-37 made the promise to the middle generation that we don't have material on. But I'd like some way for AG-37 to be involved with Han dying, and I think that Han would have gone out in a blaze of glory, to be honest, with his ship, the Millennium Falcon. And Leia, I think, would have died of old age, because she's usually stepped back more unless she really has to fight and done senatorial duties. So I think she would have continued doing more senatorial and managerial duties and will be honoured as Jaina's mother by the Fel Empire. Lethal, you're saying the Revan novel was a letdown for me. I completely understand that. because we all wanted a KOTOR 3 that connected Mitra and Revan's stories, and we wanted it to turn out differently than it did. I think pretty much everyone did for that. So it's cool. We got more Galactic timelines. I've put in the Old Republic trailers because they're relevant. They're actually visual depictions of what happens, and they're the only visual depiction. And then the timeline video section catches up to that. It tells you more. Of course, most of these trailers got novels with them, which is where, if the EU was continuing properly, Knights of the Fallen Empire would have gotten a novel with it to explain the progression of the Eternal Empire. There we go. Hope, all these bits and pieces. Some of these were only published on SWTOR.com. I haven't actually looked for them until I start to specifically go and read them yet, but they should still be up there. And then we have this with The Old Republic Deceived. That's a brilliant book. Love that. And then the trailer that goes with it. Blur Studios have created great trailers for the Star Wars: The Old Republic. I really love watching the trailers. They really feel like Star Wars. It's amazing. And they did the cutscenes for Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2 as well, and the cinematic trailers for that. I believe they did the cutscenes, but I forget exactly, but they at least did the cinematic trailers for The Force Unleashed 2. They've done it. Right. Oh, Mark Spector is apparently here with the real question we all been dying to know. We'll see what you comment the question as. What exactly is the function of a rubber duck? Yeah, Harry Potter reference. Yeah, we also have Red Harvest in its own time, which makes sense. Red Harvest wasn't a standout to me. The Old Republic novels around it are much better. Then we have the start of the Old Republic game, which you can follow the plot along the separate class. I'm going to have to look. At what these are. Because I haven't read as many. High Inquisitor Tremaine. I forgot his first name. So what we've got here is appearances, and yes, that's where he's been. High Inquisitor Tremaine, related to Matter, who has appeared in Shadow of Revan. So what I forget some of the minor details with that, but same last name. Let's say they're related unless we know otherwise, because I'd like to see the interconnectivity there with the expanding universe. It's like if we get the Shans or in the modern era, we'd like to think that if we got the last name Shan in the modern era, they're related to Revan and Bastila. Should be really cool. Which is interesting as well, because Revan doesn't have a last name, so they just take the last name of Bastila. Someone didn't want to bother to think of a last name for him. Or he forsook his last name. There's something you could get a backstory on Revan with what happened with his last name. Yeah, cool. Fatal Alliance was an interesting story. And as I was starting to read the timeline at the point I last read this, really cool how they brought together Republic and Sith empires to try and work together against a common cause. Got a couple of those short stories, comics. A lot of this around the Star Wars: The Old Republic game is short stories and things. Yeah. That should have a space. Oh, well, never mind. The information's still there. I'm only human. Now, Republic Annihilation is an interesting one with a focus on Theron Shan. And check out the books there. Cool. Drew Karpyshyn's written. I haven't disliked any of his books he's written in the Expanded Universe. He's one of the great authors. And so, for the Old Republic, the expansions came out. So you sort of want to know how much time passed between the original game and the expansions. So the expansions are separate in here. We're doing that. So we've got Rise of the Hutt Cartel, and then after that we have Shadow of Revan in the next year. It feels like more time passes than it feels like in the game. Of course, you're not playing the game for 3 years to finish the class story. So, yeah. And so then we go on to there's a Sacrifice trailer and Knights of the Fallen Empire, which is great. So the stuff that's come out later I've included in that is official Expanded Universe. But you'll note as well, if you look at Joe Bongiorno's timeline, he includes some of the supernatural encounters of the third kind. Probably isn't the third kind, but that's what popped into my head. Supernatural encounters in the Star Wars universe. And some other unpublished works that he's put up on his website or he's found on other websites, which I've decided to leave off at the moment because they weren't officially released by Lucasfilm. They've been released privately on separate websites and stuff, and I'm a bit iffy if they would have changed something, especially when Joe Bongiorno says that if you donate enough to me, I'll create a name of a character that's an anagram of your name in Supernatural Encounters. So I don't know what else he may have taken liberties with changing that wouldn't be with the approval of Lucasfilm for the official story of the EU. But yeah, that's my bit on that. I could almost put a fan tier saying these are fan works that may have been changed and but were cancelled or released later, but I decided to leave that off at the moment at least. We got Betrayed, great cinematics. I'll see if I can link you to them actually, since I'm mentioning them a fair bit. And what have we here? Just need to find it. And so the version of the Galactic Timeline I've put up and uploaded is an hour and a half, which isn't too bad for a historical document, but they also have these photo trailers in between. So there's the link to that video. Then we have Galactic Battlegrounds. Now, they have different campaigns in Galactic Battlegrounds, but I decided to leave it. That's where it starts in the timeline based on the game. So it's good. So that's awesome. And more Lost Tribes of the Sith. Lost Tribes of the Sith also got a comic, which is nice. And Visionaries are Infinity stories. So they're cool. There you go. Some that doubled up. And then, of course, we have Knight Errant. Knight Errant, really good snapshot of the... It's almost a separate little era inside of itself. And reading the novel, it took me a little bit to gain an understanding of how that time in the universe worked because I hadn't read the comics. So for the book, it may be a little bit slow in setting up. But once you get to the understanding of how the universe is working at the time, it's really cool. And like there could be more stories in this era, but there aren't. So, and we also have the first Darth Bane book right at the end of that because it starts before the Rizan Reformations. And so we have that. I put 1002 to 1000 Darkness Shag because it spends a bit of time there. But Darth Bane trilogy, definitely do. So for trilogies and series, I've put Darth Bane 1 for the Darth Bane trilogy. Darth Bane 1, Path of Destruction. And for others, you'll see. So then we enter the era of the Republic, which takes place from the Rizan Reformations in 1000 BBY until the Clone Wars. It started in 22 BBY in, of course, the movie Attack of the Clones. So, what have we got from this is Jedi vs. Sith comic first, then Bane of the Sith. We got Tales comics, we got short stories and stuff, but the main ones in 990 BBY are the two other books in the Darth Bane trilogy, which are awesome. Rule of Two and Dynasty of Evil. And they're awesome books. Definitely read the Darth Bane trilogy if you haven't. They're amazing books. And if you're looking into the creation of the Rule of Two, that's there. If you're looking to why Sidious has become the Sith now and sort of what's the setup for why Sidious is the Sith and why they're working in the shadows, then it's all in there. If you're interested in the Sith, or if just good stories, Darth Bane trilogy, they're great. There's a Tales comic that's end canon, so not canon. Yeah, I'm thinking I might add timestamps to this, and I will might even download the stream, chop it up in editing, and release the separate sections in separate videos. That'll be a good idea, probably. Well, timestamps would be easier, and then I might just record separately going through it because it might be more concise with my thoughts. So, then we have Legacy of the Jedi, and that starts with Count Dooku being trained under Yoda, which is cool. From memory. From memory? I think so. Oh, yes. Sid Kenobi says he's enjoying my playthroughs of the old Dark Forces and Jedi Knight games. I'm enjoying it too. I actually recorded one just earlier for the next one. The trickiest thing about those is that you have to find how to proceed in the level, and trying to work that out is a bit confusing. We got the Tenebrous Way started here. So the Tenebrous Way is basically a prequel short story to Darth Plagueis. Why has that changed the formatting? I'll put an updated link in the description afterwards to anyone watching afterwards. But yeah, I don't know why that changed font, but it did. So fun times. I went through and changed all of the formatting so that it's all standardized in the same way recently. So there's bound to be a few kinks with that, especially when exporting to PDF. Right. They're going through a few Tales comics. Then we have Jedi Apprentice here as well, which is a really good junior novel series. Written by Jude Watson, and they tell the story of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon as Obi-Wan is the apprentice of Padawan of Qui-Gon. From when he becomes a Padawan to the last Jedi Apprentice novel down here leads into the Phantom Menace. That I should fix as well. Oh, thanks to note. Yeah, Jedi Apprentice series is great. And George R. Binks, the Tales story. From reading the Wikipedia description, it doesn't seem to contradict anything else. But I would have to read it myself and double check whether it is actually C canon or N canon. Because it's a quirky story. But it's quite possible because everyone makes jokes about Jar Jar. Hate Lisa lollipops and stuff. Obviously, and canon from the title. It's good. Yes, Yaddle's Tale, the one below. It's really cool. That's for reference in novels. It's really good. And so we've got that. Secrets of the Jedi is like Legacy of the Jedi. It shows snapshots of each of the different pairings of Jedi Knights and Padawans as the timeline progresses. And it's really cool. And then we have some of these Qui-Gon Obi-Wan comics and stuff. So, what I put here is the rise and fall of Darth Vader. And that's there because it starts with Anakin before the Phantom Menace, and so that's where it made sense in the timeline. Oh, God. Last Stand on All Mantel, Aura's Song. So a lot of these, because you're obviously looking at a Star Wars timeline, things have Star Wars Tales or Star Wars whatever on them. I got rid of the Star Wars for the most part. So, yeah, because you're obviously not Star Wars if you're looking at it. Oh, talking makes me thirsty. Thirsty for more. All right. Even if someone wants to do timestamps in the comments, thinking of timestamps, you're welcome to. And we start getting some of the children's books around the Phantom Menace here. So we've got Droids Everywhere. It's a children's book, and episode 1, Queen in Disguise, and stuff. We have Cloak of Deception, which is a good lead into the Phantom Menace as well, setting up the reason for the trade blockade on Naboo, which is good. And Maul Lockdown, it's an awesome book. It's beast. And just Maul stuck in a prison, fighting things with his bare hands. What more could you want? It's awesome. And so on and so forth with that. Comics, short stories of the episode 1 adventures, which I've read actually. They're interesting. I wouldn't say they were complete standout apart from the end of them before they start recapping what the Phantom Menace does. Actually tells the story of why Jar Jar Binks was exiled, which I thought was interesting. Because no one else is dead to touch that, but they did. You have the death of Captain Tarpals, which is figurative when you read the summary of the story. I have a couple of the different children's books here. We have Darth Maul, Shadow Hunter, which is a good book as well. And of course, the ever-popular Darth Plagueis. Now, Darth Plagueis I put right before Phantom Menace, because if you're reading all of the material based on the timeline, you can read Darth Plagueis and it's a brilliant lead into the Phantom Menace. Really enhances it. It's awesome. And of course, the Phantom Menace has the movie, the book, the junior novel, the comic. And then you also have some junior adaptations from points of view with the episode 1 journals. You have RPG story from it, and so on and so forth with so much stuff. And lots of children's books were made from the Phantom Menace, fair few comics and junior novels and all of that good stuff. So just go through here. So some of these I've been a bit, whether I should actually include them, because they're really the kids' games that don't add anything. And a lot of them, like the Yoda's Challenge Activity Center, I've taken off some of the Flash games that were on StarWars.com, but others I've left there. So Still tweaking if I can actually access the game and play it, then I'll leave it up there. But some of this I'll double check with that, because most of my efforts have been into getting the right order and all of that. Starfighter, which is a notable game, that's cool. Got the episode 1 Phantom Menace, of course. Racer Arcade, all the pod racing games basically based on Phantom Menace. Anakin Speedway. I did a playthrough of Anakin Speedway on my channel, and I'll drop a link to that in just a moment. Fun little game. And just play it and have a blast, because it really isn't canon. So that's the one video I've done on Anakin Speedway, because it's a short game as well. It doesn't need more. It's good. And Racer Rush and Pit Droids is one I'm going to play as well. I have the disc for that. Oh yes, that's what I have the disc for. I have the disc for Anakin Speedway. If I can bring this up like so. I've got Anakin Speedway, the disc for it, which is what I installed it from. I also have Pit Droids, which is cool. And yeah, those will be fun to play through. And while I'm on the vein of that, I've got the disc for Star Wars Droid Works as well, which I'll play through at one point. Some of these old games are just fun ones. I've got a disc for Episode 1 Racer, but since it's on Steam now and they're releasing some of the classics, I got it on Steam, and it's awesome that they release some of the more classic games on Steam. So, back to the timeline. Bounty Hunters Aura Sing. We got a bunch of ones just about the bounty hunters. We got Gungan Frontier, which apparently is a good game. I haven't played it, but I think I watched a little bit of gameplay on someone did on YouTube. I'll be tracking that down at one point to play all the games on my channel. And more comics. Battlefront 2004 starts there because Naboo. And it's really good. Bounty Hunter, I have on my PlayStation 4. I got a Star Wars PlayStation 4 that came with Bounty Hunter, Racer Revenge, Starfighter, and Super Star Wars, which is really cool. And I'll be working out and playing the PlayStation 4 games at one point. There's like this Math Jabba's Game Galaxy. Does it really matter? I don't know if it even has a storyline to it. Oh. Even more of these tales. Republic Comics. It's good. And John Ostrander has written a lot of the comics, and from what I've heard, has been really good. So, you got Rogue Planet, which is an interesting connection to the Yuuzhan Vong. And then we start with Jedi Quest, which is basically like Jedi Apprentice, but it's a story of when Anakin is a Padawan of Obi-Wan, which is really cool. What are people saying on Twitter? Oh, thank you, Lethal, for sharing my video. The live stream is up and going. Woo! Cool. And let's see what we have here. We got a short children's book, Anakin Apprentice, Jedi Quest comics, and all sorts. There's so much pretty cool content. It's great because it really helps enhance the movies. So when you're actually reading comics and novels, and then you go into the movies, you might appreciate the movies a little bit more, you might not. But there are really good stories around it that I think enhance the movies. You got Jedi Quest, Starfighter Crossbones, and Tales and Visionary stuff. You got Insider short stories, which are there. I've added those in. And yeah, some of the different ones. Okay. There's Racer Revenge. Do I accidentally have that twice? I don't think so. No, I don't have that twice. That has a different storyline, so that's good. More Jedi Quest, and then we go into the normal Star Wars Adventures. And Adventures 1. That sort of stuff. That's cool. We have a little article called Dining at Dexter's, which is cool, which is a menu actually from Dexter Jettster's Diner, which was originally owned by Otto's. And that is a little thread that's picked up as well by Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest, which is cool. It's sad I wasn't as keen on the choices they made in the up to Rebel Force as far as Astro-Otto went, but and it made it a realistic universe where things don't always work out, but it would be nice to see her do well. And yes, we have manga for Star Wars. And they're not canon, of course, but there's manga that people have made of Star Wars, which is awesome. Because I like anime as well, so definitely going to be reading those. Jedi Starfighter, Battlefield Republic, Blood Ties, and The Approaching Storm, which I would say is the perfect novel to lead into Attack of the Clones. As so. Now, here I'll have a drink for a minute. And this is the Clone Wars era, which I hoped Evan Gamble would be here with me for, but he isn't at the moment. So this takes place from the beginning of the Clone Wars in 22 BBY until the formation of the Galactic Empire, which is in 19 BBY. And I'll put a little note, this era was actually put together by Evan Gamble. So he's the one that actually did this era and working out the order and everything, as he knows a lot more about the Clone Wars era in the comics and the other material than I do. I've just read the novels and obviously watched the movies, but most of it's comics and the Clone Wars TV show and everything. It's a big mess that thankfully I didn't have to sort through. Now, so the breakdowns and material are different, which you'll notice from the start. So he got the Clone Wars video game here that he said Geonosis. So there's a Geonosis section of it, which personally, for me, if I'm playing the game and I want to play it in chronological order, I don't want to go, I'm just going to play the Geonosis mission, then I'm going to play Republic Commander, do the Geonosis campaign of that, then I'm going to go read these comics, go to Battlefront 2004, and go to Battlefront 2, and then all the way down till the next section, where it is. Yeah, with Remvar and Raxus Prime. I wouldn't want to do that if I'm just playing a game. I want to play a game as it is. But that's the way that Evan decided to break it up, so that's the way that it is, especially because of the way the Clone Wars is set up, I'd say. A lot of it is hard to see. Right. So we got a lot of that. So Evan didn't put Asteroid Ambush and Tag and Bank in first because they can really go anywhere, but I looked at what they were and thought that it's best to place them after the Clone Wars a bit and the stuff that happened in Geonosis because they retell the events or they take place during the events of Attack of the Clones. And so that's where I put them at the moment. Yeah, so the one in the Lego magazine isn't canon because it's Lego, but it retells a little part where There's the seismic charge, which we all remember because that's an awesome sound effect. And you got this stuff going through here. Boba Fett won the fight to survive the Boba Fett series. It tells the story of Boba Fett after his dad is killed, Jango Fett. Spoiler alert for Attack of the Clones. If you haven't watched it by now, you won't. But, yeah. You got Galaxy Wars in there. All these different bits and pieces. So there's Galactic Battlegrounds again, the clone campaigns that he's put. Yeah, there's a Decide Your Destiny, so choose your own adventure, the way of the Jedi. Now, I put these as canon because one of the plot lines may be canon, but the others aren't. So I said that's the way that you can look at it, is that the details might not be correct. And that's the way I'm looking at it for the RPGs as well. With RPGs, you can do whatever you want. You can roll, and you might be able to do it, you might not. So that's the same thing with Decide Your Destiny. And yeah, we got all of these bits and pieces with the Clone Wars, Battlefront, and then back to the Clone Wars. Yeah, not how I'd do it, but I'm trusting Evan to do a good job of that part of the timeline, and that's how he wants to do it. And that's where we start going into the Clone Wars Volume 1, directed by Genndy Tartakovsky, which is a great 2003 micro series. And really check it out. High on the action and stylized, but it doesn't offer as much in Volume 1 of the story, whereas they put a little bit more in the story in Volume 2. But that wasn't its intention. George Lucas said in an interview that the 2003 micro series Clone Wars was to be viewed ideally before Revenge of the Sith, so you get a snapshot of everything that went on in the Clone Wars and then into Revenge of the Sith, which is cool. Yeah, a couple of short stories, comics, all that good stuff. If you want to focus on Mace Windu, you can read Jedi Mace Windu's comic. And then Shatterpoint will be somewhere later. Republic Commando Hard Contact is the first Republic Commando book, which is good. And I should put numbers on those as well, like I've done for the other series. Some of that sort of stuff I'm still tweaking the formatting slightly, but I got most of it down pat. So got more focus. They did focuses on certain Jedi during the Clone Wars, so Jedi Shaak Ti and Mace Windu up there and that all throughout. And then you got these Clone Wars Adventures volumes. Basically, just other so these were styled and drawn like the Genndy Tartakovsky micro series, so they line up with that sort of stylistic choice. And then we have more of the Clone Wars 2003, which he broke up like that. And then, yeah, bits and pieces. New Droid Armies game. Connect Star Wars! He's put that as C canon. So Han Solo going, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, I'm Han Solo, Solo is C canon. Doubtful, but I don't know if it actually has a storyline. I haven't played it, so yeah, I'll leave that up to you. Some of these Shadow Speed dispatches, which are basically articles, transmissions that are cool. And continuing on further, we've got these broken up like here. Here, Carter. Legacy of the Jedi again, because it skips a little bit. I put them where they started earlier, but I haven't put them in amongst here. There's Shatterpoint. So if you're really keen on Mace Windu, you can read Shatterpoint, which is the name of a Force ability as well, which is cool. And that's a good one. Let's see here, just going through a heap of these comics. The Cestus Deception. Very good. Now, I'm noting all of the novels because there's so many comics that are amongst things. It's ridiculous and super expensive. But yeah. Year's Start Fate Edition. That's Fate Day is one of the events in the calendar, which should be fixed, but I'll look at that afterwards. And then we got Public 64 Bloodlines. Interesting to note that Bloodlines is also the title of a novel in Legacy of the Force. If Lethal's having a listen, it's not coming up that you're watching, but it comes up with Bloodlines. Connection to Legacy of the Force. We got you there, Lethal. Right, and all this good stuff, really. A lot of it is just self-explanatory going through it, but I thought I'd go through it in a live stream because it's really interesting to me, at least, and for the hard work I put into it. Yoda Dark Rendezvous is pretty much the Yoda novel you get there. Jedi Trial is the one just before Yoda's thing. Sorry. Yeah. Jedi Trial is the one before Anakin is knighted, and so I think that's why Chapter 22 of the Tartakovsky Clone Wars is put there, because that, I believe that must be the one where Anakin is knighted. Escape from Dagu is an interesting one. I included that, but it was never published. It was slated to come out, but it was cancelled. But they pretty much finished the book, so they'd have the book somewhere. That's cool. And then we start going into the Clone Wars 2008. I'm running out of water. Oh no. Oh. I gotta mute myself for a minute. Alright, I just had to clear the pipes. Why is that put twice? Never mind. Just little things. You know what it means. It's the same one. I don't know why it's there twice. Little tricksy hobbitses. The gremlins are coming at us. Yeah. But yeah, we got the Clone Wars there, and then we got the movie, which is basically 3 episodes mashed together. Because I wanted a movie for it. Well, now, here's the reason why you can't discount the Clone Wars from the expanded universe. The Clone Wars, meet Ahsoka Tano. The Clone Wars, the new Padawan. The Clone Wars, Operation Hutlet. The Clone Wars, Anakin in Action. The Clone Wars, Battle at Teth. The Clone Wars, The Battle Begins. Defenders of the Republic is an adaptation of Clone Cadets. And all of those ones I mentioned as a list as the Clone Wars before, they're adaptations of what happens in the movie. So you can't say that the Clone Wars isn't part of the expanding universe, because these adaptations are purely EU as well. They haven't been recanonized, kept, or anything. So they only kept the actual episodes in the movie. They didn't even get the novelization by Karen Traviss, which I think Evan has a strong opinion about Karen Traviss, but that's where it goes. Gotta Decide Your Destiny. And then basically, Clone Wars episodes are all jumbled up because they didn't release them in chronological order. But we do have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, a lot of them, once they get stuck into it a bit more, they do get a bit better with a bunch of them being one after the other in the chronology. You got the Secret Missions, Breakout Squad. They're sort of Clone Wars branded like the Clone Wars 2008 show, but they're different stories. I don't know why they included a Chiss that early, and it's interesting. Not many people must have known about him. Oh yes, we've got the full-on adult novel, The Clone Wars Wild Space, which connects into the Clone Wars TV show. Of course, these novels don't actually contradict other E material. It's more the later episodes of the series that does. That one, I got no idea what year it was released, and I don't know who it was by. So I'll put question marks, because maybe when I finally find it and read it, I'll be able to find those things. Bits and pieces. The Clone Wars Republic Heroes I played a little bit of, but then from memory it required co-op in my head, and I couldn't do it, but oh well. Clone Wars Crash Course, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Hero of the Confederacy. Decide Your Destiny again. Clone Wars No Prisoners. It's another tie-in to the 2008 show. Then you go back to Republic Commando in here. And 000. So that's where things clash a bit, is the depiction of Mandalorians by Karen Traviss in the Republic Commando novels compared to the depiction in the Clone Wars TV show. And Karen Traviss refused to write for them afterwards. So. Oh well. What's happened has happened with that. There you go, a bunch of these. Bounty Hunter Boba Fett is an adaptation of the episodes where he tries to become Mace. I'll put the Decide Your Destiny Crisis on Coruscant stuff there, because Hostage Crisis. That's what it seemed like anyway. Oh, the Clone Wars Comic UK should be red. I'll fix it later. Stuff like that. Yeah. When it comes to the updated version where I fix up the formatting. Yeah. Hello, Auto Scarata. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, I only mentioned it in passing because Karen Traviss is right next to the Clone Wars episode, so that's what happens in the timeline, because this is going as official Lucasfilm as possible before 2014 and how they viewed it. So I'm leaving them as T-canon. Even though headcanon would say for me that it's S-canon, I'm doing this as official as possible for everyone looking. Anyway, you got a bunch of these Clone Wars comics. Basically that. Yeah. Bunch of these Evan has a lot more of an insight into. Clone Wars Rise of the Deep is a junior novel that adapts these 3 episodes. And all that good stuff, because that's why you can't really remove the Clone Wars from the Expanding Universe timeline I was saying just earlier, is because you have those junior novels. You have Wild Space and No Prisoners that are direct Clone Wars tie-ins. RC canon. And of course, on top of that, you got mentions of the Clone Wars in Fate of the Jedi and Plagueis showed Maul's new origin, and so on and so forth with that. Yeah. This stuff for the Clone Wars episodes, yeah. Sort of seeing what's good to come in on. Oh, the MedStar duology. Brilliant. The main ones that I remember from the Clone Wars multimedia project that really stand out to me are these two books. Stood out to me so much as the best ones that I read out of the Clone Wars era from the multimedia project. Yeah. As you say, Auto, Clone Wars was why Travis stopped writing for Star Wars. Basically, everything she wrote was contradicted. That's accurate. But on the other hand, they had control of the story. But the whole Clone Wars is a bit messed anyway, so yeah. I'm going to focus on saying the MedStar duology. Read them if you haven't, because they're great. I love them. It also has Barriss Offee in them. Going back to the Clone Wars. Depicted very much as a pacifist and not like she would bomb anything and turn to the dark side. But yeah. Darth Maul Shadow Conspiracy, so that's the C canon junior novel that depicts events. All of that stuff. No. I think Evan must still be sleeping. That's why I'm going through this myself. And yeah, the main other notable thing is Season 6. That is in there because they were released before April 25th, 2014. They contradict and whatnot, but they're there because of when they were written and they were released, they were official EU according to Lucasfilm before the reboot date. So that's what I'm putting it at. The only one that's afterwards here is the SWTOR stuff, Son of Dathomir, and some of the short stories, which still doesn't tie up a bunch of the loose storylines from there, but yeah. Boba Fett books, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which is really good. I like the style of it. The action feels dramatic and animation is good. Republic Commando, Order 66. Got there. I really like the Republic Commando series. The two MedStar books from the Multimedia Project and the Republic Commando series would be my highlights from the Clone Wars era as far as novels go. Labyrinth of Evil is also quite good, but that works best connected into the Dark Lord trilogy. So some things I still need to chuck in, but collected in the Dark Lord trilogy under there. But I've got a couple of things that I knew I would notice a few things as I went through it like this, because it's easy to noticing with that. And here we go. So we pretty much got the end of the Clone Wars section with Revenge of the Sith, and then a couple of the smaller aftermath pieces, but pretty much those all depict events during Revenge of the Sith. Here's what I've done. So until I read these stories myself, or Evan reads these ones because he's taking care of the Clone Wars era as well, I don't know where these go, but they do belong in the Clone Wars era. Especially this RPG supplement. They're really tricky to try and place. So that's the way the news goes. But I'll put unknown exact placement because we don't know exactly, and I'd prefer to put unknown exact placement rather than say, I'll just chuck it in there somewhere and then it's inaccurate. So then we move on to the Imperial Era, which takes place from the formation of the Galactic Empire in 19 BBY until the formation of the Alliance to Restore the Republic in 3 BBY, which is the Rebellion, of course. Got some aftermath from the Clone Wars stuff. Dark Lord, the Rise of Darth Vader, included in the Dark Lord trilogy right there. Just a chuck on the novel of Revenge of the Sith and Labyrinth of Evil. When I fix up a couple of things I've noticed here. And a couple of stuff, yeah. Stuff. Younger. You got Imperial Commando 501st, which it's a pity the Imperial Commando books won't continue, but oh well. And Dark Times comics and stuff, all going through here. Coruscant Knights is a really interesting story, with the unofficial fourth one being named The Last Jedi, as well as the Marvel Styles comic. Yeah, they're really interesting, like an underworld detective type. It's cool. I really like them. Got all the bits and pieces here with... These are quite good Vader comics, apparently. Ninth Assassin, Cry of Shadows, Lost Command, and Ghost Prison. And Kenobi. The novel here. It's good. Then I have Death Star is Born. Interesting reference. It could be a reference to A Star is Born. The movie. Good not as well. Speculation. Then we have the Last of the Jedi series, which is interesting. Basically following the thread of what happened to the Jedi that survived from Jedi Quest and Jedi Apprentice time. And basically Ferris Olin. Because a lot of the other Jedi died, of course. The two Coruscant Knights books, they're quite good. And The Last Jedi, published in 2013 by Michael Reeves and Maya Catherine Bonhoff. Now, of course, as shown here, some of the short stories are reprinted in paperbacks of books. It's good. Yeah, Visionaries Old Wounds is here. That was never canon. For anyone watching who doesn't know, it's Visionaries. It was never canon that Maul returned in this. It was a what-if story because they thought that it would never happen. So they didn't take it seriously. They had fun with it. And it was a pretty cool story. I've had a squeeze at it. It's good. And You Hope the Life of Luke Skywalker I've started here because that's about when it starts from memory. The Han Solo trilogy is great. I.C. Crispin. I love it. You want to read about Han? You read the Han Solo trilogy by I.C. Crispin, and even in the second one, it leaves a gap for the Han Solo Adventures by Brian Daley, but we'll get to that a little bit later. A lot of this in the middle I haven't read, but it's in source books for the RPGs that are short stories, which is cool. Nick Skywalker's Walkabout sounds like an Aussie thing with someone going walkabout. Fun. There's bits and pieces there. Oh, yeah. Although the people who think that Old Wounds is canon and use it to discredit the EU, oh man. They haven't researched anything, basically. Because I say Skippy the Jedi droid is canon as well, and that's not. Which we'll get to. We've got a bunch of the droids cartoon spin-offs. Now we have Han Solo Trilogy 2, the Hutt Gambit, which actually leaves the gap for the Han Solo Adventures and also the Adventures of Lando Calrissian going in the middle by O'Neill Smith between The Hutt Gambit and Rebel Dawn. Yeah. Got some Jabba the Hutt comics and bits and pieces. Tales from the Empire. The Tales from ones, I really like the ones that are more connected to the movies better. I think they're really good compared to the ones that are not as connected, like Tales from the Empire. But they're still great stories. But I like that there's some different ones. Hello there, the Gaming Mutt. General Gaming Mutt. Or General Mutt. Or General Kenobi. Every time you say hello there, anyway. Nice to see. This is the reveal of my Star Wars Expanded Universe timeline that I put together. So that's awesome. We got the Droids Animated Adventures all together. Oh yes, the Raven from the EU server. Well, he can always come and join us. He can always watch the archive of the live stream as well. Be cool. You got the. So I haven't broken up my TV shows by episodes. But as you can see, there's junior novel adaptations of a bunch of the episodes anyway. So The White Witch is Droids episodes, Escaping to Terra, Trigon Unleashed, Race to Finish, all that stuff. But I've decided not to break it up in episodes because then you're just watching the series as a whole. I broke it up into seasons, but not episodes for my parts of the timeline. Of course, Evan did the Clone Wars differently. And did you know, to add to the movie counts, that they actually made movies where they basically mushed together the three episodes of the Droids cartoons and put them together. That's these ones here. Pirates and the Prince, The Great Heap, and Treasure of the Hidden Planet. I'll put extra details on them next time I update the timeline of which episodes they include. Oh, Gungan Fighter, good to see you again. So you got here, are the Legacy Comics good reads? I will say that I've read the Aeneas Solo run, but I haven't read the Cade Skywalker run yet. But if the Aeneas Solo run's anything to go by and other people's opinions, they're really good reads overall for the Cade Skywalker and the Aeneas Solo run. The ones I read with Aeneas Solo, brilliant. I love them. Putting it that far in the future wasn't a bad idea. They executed it really well. Really good. Read them and find out. Then we have more comics from the Droids cartoon. And that was the official Droids series of comics. There's the RPG Secrets of the Caesar run, where some of the short stories are, one of them's there. But the main plot line fits there. And yeah, stuff. Avengers in Hyperspace. So this is where I divert from when I was looking at Joe Bungie on his Star Wars Timeline.net. He uploaded number 3 and number 4 of these Avengers in Hyperspace, but they were never published officially. So I'm not counting those in my timeline. Haha. You're welcome, Gungan Fighter. While I can, especially when I don't have many people on the live stream, I'll answer questions. Later on, I guess if I get bigger, I'll have to pick out which questions answer. That'll be an interesting point. But yeah, then we have the Han Solo Adventures, Han Solo at Star's End. Yeah. I read these ones, and to be honest, I do like the AC Crispin trilogy a bit more, but both are really good. I like those. We got the other Han Solo ones there somewhere. Yeah, that's Star's End. That's the first one. Yeah. And then we go into the Rebellion era, which takes place from the formation of the Alliance to restore the Republic in 3 BBY until the formation of the New Republic, 5 ABY. So we've got the Force Unleashed, which, of course, is the origin of when the proper rebellion started at the end of that time storyline, at least. Which apparently it is supposed to be 2 BBY, but Joe Bongiorio's Timeline.net has it at 3 BBY, and that should have been shifted down to here. But the version that I was editing, I must have edited a different version than I exported for this one in particular. Oh, that's alright. I'm going to fix up a couple of things and re-upload the PDF and then change the link on the stream in the description below. And Visions of the Blade is interesting. That's a crossover with Soul Calibur 4. Formal Declaration of Rebellion goes right after the Force Unleashed, which should be right before it, because that's when they did that. Han Solo's Revenge, good one. Death Star Designer, I couldn't find anything about who developed it. I think it's one of those ones that might be lost to the archives of the interwebs. Yeah, Blood Tours and stuff, and then the Force Unleashed 2. Now, it was a bit short. It did feel rushed when I was playing it. I still enjoyed playing it, though, and the storyline isn't finished. So, one of the things that would be good if the EU was ever continued to get the storyline finished there. Yeah, I got a bunch of short stories. The longest Tales comic title that I know. The value of proper intelligence to any successful military campaign is not to be underestimated. I am going to think about that question auto for just a minute. Add the GRS dates after. At the moment, for the GRS dates, I haven't actually thought about doing that, because the easiest way for us to understand how to look at the timeline is the BBY and ABY. But that's quite possibly something I could do later on, but it's something I haven't thought of yet because it was hard enough just to try and get things in order. It's a possibility, but at the moment, improvements that I'd probably make is making sure things are in order when I read them and fixing up the formatting a little bit. So then we have 1 BBY with the Han Solo and the Lost Legacy. And it's really cool. There's audio dramas, full cast audio dramas for all of the Dark Forces books, which is awesome. And of course, I've got my Dark Forces playthrough on my channel here. And that's actually really fun. Despite being old, it's really fun. That's what you want from a game. Got Mara by the Emperor's Hand. There you go. I believe from looking at it, that was the first appearance of Mara J chronologically. I think Allegiance and Choices of One were later. Death Troopers. Interesting how they put a horror genre in Star Wars with that, I thought. Comics. Death Star. Death Star is a really good example of where the EU worked really well. the chronology of the Death Star plans was a bit muddled. And so they actually wrote a book about it, explaining it and retconning some bits and pieces that may not have made sense. They did awesome at it, and that's why there isn't any issues with the Death Star plans. All you need to do is think logically about what the EU is and how the continuity works. And with that retcon, as I read it, there wasn't anything I thought of that contradicted, because there's just different versions of the Death Star plans being stolen. That's it. Bunch of stuff from the RPG books. Tales, Underworld, blah blah. I'm also going to chuck a link for this timeline in the About section on YouTube, so that'll come up there. Shadow Games. Not quite as memorable, but the appearance of Dash Render, and it's interesting. Shadow Dawn's there. Empire at War Forces of Corruption, because that was a expansion for it. Yeah, so I'll put, instead of putting this where the story started, I've got the best ending to lead into A New Hope, so I've put it there. Because if you're reading through chronologically, I'd like to say I'm reading this, and then it gives the best experience for going into that. Got all the stuff for A New Hope, originally Star Wars. You got the classic Marvel Star Wars run, which I've just called Star Wars because it's easiest to do that. Yeah, and so we got going through all of this stuff. We got some more droids, manga for A New Hope, which is awesome. Super Star Wars, all of that good stuff. X-Wing Rogue Squadron and a half. Kids book Lego Star Wars Save the Galaxy. Put as S because it's not C canon, obviously, because it's Lego, but the events could have happened. Not as depicted. Lethal Alliance, I haven't played actually, so that's one I can't really comment on. It's one I will get to eventually, though. What have we here? What are these short stories in that? Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. That's where it starts getting better for the, in my opinion, for the Tales from and Tales of, and when they connect it all to the movies. And so they tell the stories of all of the notable characters in the Mos Eisley Cantina and A New Hope, and give them backstories and everything. It's great. I have listed these bits separately as well. So I've got places. Listed some of them separately and said that they're inside of these. That's because the exact placement of some of them are odd. For example, I've got a certain point of view which is included in Tales from the Empire here. There you go. Tag and Bink again. Yeah, a bunch of the comics. Star Wars Missions books. Pizzazz. Give it a bit of pizzazz. And a lot of the original Marvel Star Wars comic run, which I'm currently going through and reviewing. Let's see. Interesting what you come across when you look into everything. The science adventures are interesting. Don't think I've done a review on them yet, but they're really short ones, but they're interesting. Kids' books that put science in the Star Wars universe. And they're sea canon. So the physics that are introduced in the science adventures would apply to the rest of the expanded universe. And they're just some basic laws of physics that does follow. Scoundrels, which is a nice connection to the Marvel Star Wars comics because it mentions how Han had the royal money stolen, which happens in the Marvel comics. So it's really good. You got more missions. Why am I yawning? Probably because it's nearly 11 o'clock. Never mind. In the Shadow of Yavin, all that good stuff. In Deadly Pursuit, names have a fair few comics there. Rebel Force starts there, and the first of the Hand of Judgment duology. Sort of an unofficial duology, but I put that there because everyone calls them that. They're about the Hand of Judgment, and none others are. Yeah, it's interesting how Devil World's number 2 comes before Devil World's number 1 as well. Although this Star Wars 3D is interesting in some parts. That is stuff. Yeah, stuff. Nonsense. I'm here. Oh yeah, I have Last of the Jedi in that order. You might have joined a little bit later. And I was talking about it a bit. The Galaxy of Fear, why does that say 31? That's supposed to be a hash. I forgot to hold shift as I pressed the button. Oh well, that happens. That's why I'm tweaking it a little bit again as I notice things. Galaxy of Fear surprised me with actually how good it is. I really love the series. It's really fun and enjoyable. It's good. Yeah, of course, the Ferris All-In ones. I know what you mean by Last of the Jedi. The Last Jedi is the Marvel comic and the end of the Coruscant Knights trilogy. I can show you probably if you really want to see that I have it in there. It's all the way up. That's all. There's Last of the Jedi right there. So there you go. I got to find my place again. Galaxy of Fear, cool. Bunch of the Empire comics, which are really cool. And Rebellion. Boba Fett one slid in there. And of course, why did I not make this the Dark Red, but the Star Wars Holiday Special, which is a fun time. And I'm sure we can all agree on what sort of movie that is. Yeah, there is about 6 things with the same combination of the and Last and Jedi. Last of the Jedi, The Last Jedi. That's 2. Anyway. There you got some of these bits and pieces here. My timeline gets a bit better as I go along as far as all the information and that, so that's good. Idiot's Array. Silence Mission stuff. A lot of this is Mystery of the Rebellious Robot. I did my review not long ago. So that's cool. And Honor Among Thieves. Wikipedia would have you believe that it's later on in the timeline. But I read it myself. And that's where I want to put it. Because Han has one line in it where it refers to events of A New Hope happening within the last year. So that tells me the chronology is that it's actually within one ABY. And so there it goes. Before Galaxy Fear number 12, The Hunger. But to those Star Wars Galaxies. And that's one I've tried a tiny bit, but I got completely lost on what I was supposed to do in it. So I didn't play it a lot because of that. But I've got the emulator installed and that, so yeah. I'd need someone who knows what they're doing with Galaxies to sort of play with me and show me how things work properly to actually get to doing the interesting content in it, I think. Rather than I took a speeder out into the desert, I think, and then lost my speeder and couldn't get it back. Fun times! Anyway, Splinter of the Mind's Eye is cool. And the comic clears up some of the inconsistencies because I go through that. So you say the superior Star Wars MMO, Star Wars Galaxies, but I mean, I've read things about it that sound really cool. I tried it that little bit and I'm like, I couldn't get into it as easily. I'd need help, so yeah. I got the Maverick Moon, Wiki Storybook, and all the good children's books there. Therefore, I Am the Tale of IG-88, which is in Tales of the Bounty Hunters. It's a really cool story. Payback, the Tale of Dengar. Noticing that in the Marvel comics, they call Dengar a cyborg as well, so that connects well. And there's bits and pieces as well. Empire and Rebellion, Razor's Edge. Goes where it goes a bit. Because it doesn't really add anything. There's no real outcome to it. Because they don't get what their mission was. They don't achieve the want of the characters. From a story perspective. Oh, the Adventure Journal stories. I'm going to put those. That's the Adventure Journals that are printed in. More manga, which is awesome because I like the manga style. I wonder what they'd do if they created a new manga style for it. That should be anyway. That would be good to see if they did that. That's why I need to fix things up. Anyway. You got Rogue Squadron and Battlefront Renegade Squadron, which are cool. Oh, yeah. See, although you say you enjoyed SWTOR immensely, but you enjoyed Galaxies as a whole lot more. I never played Galaxies properly when it was popular, so when I jumped into it before, I had really no direction. So that's probably why I haven't really got it. But SWTOR's story is great. I mean, I like the original base game stories better than the expansions, but yeah. Galaxies has a lot of potential that I've read about, but I haven't seen it properly myself to say. That's cool. Then we go to 3AB1, The Empire Strikes Back, all that good stuff. Marvel Comics, Infinities for Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back manga, which depicts things accurately, so it's sea canon. Stuff. Released in 1999 by Dark Horse. Yeah. A bunch of these short stories and everything around there. 3ABY. 3ABY. Need to fix things. But yeah, there's a lot of comics and things. They actually have the audio drama of Planet of the Hoojies, which is interesting. Oh yeah, back up here a little bit. The Ewoks animated series, I put different season 1. Then we got all the bunch of stuff with that, and the comics, children's books, blah blah. Then we got Tales from the Endor Woods, and that's a sort of mini TV movie. And the Season 2 of the animated adventures of Ewoks. Then we got Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure, and Battle for Endor, which people always forget the 2 TV movies for Ewoks. What do you got there? Oh, that's cool. Autoscurata says one of the emulators has created or is creating Cloud City as their own playable world space. That's cool. It'd be cool to see that. There you go. All this good stuff. Star Wars number 50, Crimson Forever. Shadows of the Empire is a big one. There was a multimedia project. That's why it has so many things with the same name, but they're different colors. It's good. And then the Shadows of the Empire source book with the RPGs. And also Marvel Comics New Republic campaign for things that turned off my heater properly. Yeah, get the right switches. That's from Precisely. The comic's interesting. These games I haven't played properly. I played a little bit of... What was the first one? I played a little bit of X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, I think. One of them. Oh, sorry, just X-Wing. I played a little bit of that. Pretty cool simulator. And bits and pieces. All these Rogue Squadron games, which would have had popularity from the X-Wing novels as well as the Rogue Squadron comics. We got Return of the Jedi, which is 3, not 3, it says 4 right there, 4 ABY. You got all the stuff with that, children's books, Super Star Wars Return of the Jedi version, and all that as well. And more Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand. Tales from Jabba's Palace stories, which are cool. And all of that good stuff. I've got my review of all of the novels starting from Allegiance and Choices 1 up to Wedge's Gamble. But I don't have a couple of the ones in between Allegiance and Choices 1 because I didn't get up to that yet at the time. Choose of Recur is a cool book. Bounty Hunter Wars are quite interesting to go into and read. They introduced the assemblers, which it would have been nice if they actually did more on the assemblers in the expanded universe. And yeah, more Star Wars comics. Marvel ones. Shadows of the Empire Evolution. And then the last couple of those. And there's where Star Wars, the original Marvel Star Wars issue 108 fits in. And it's Forever Crimson. That's a new one released this year in 2019. My review of that's coming up once I finish reviewing the rest of the original Marvel comics, which is cool. There you go, the comics and things around here, a lot of them. That was an in-universe document, Intergalactic Passport. It was a pretty cool idea. When I saw the Wikipedia page explaining what it was, and a bunch of the RPG elements. One thing I might add is which RPGs sort they are, like West End Games and Wizards of the Coast or Fantasy Flight Games. We got the New Republic era. So this won't take as long as the other eras, hopefully, as we go further along. She's starting with Chandra's Luck, which is where it fits. Yeah. And X-Wing Rogue Squadron ones. But then I thought Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor was the best place to break this up, because that's when they start calling the New Republic, and not till the Rebellion and stuff. And then we got Jedi Prince here, which they did have 3 more Jedi Prince books planned, but they cancelled them. Probably because it wasn't popular, plus the story's a bit quirky anyway. Tales from the New Republic, which fits there. Dark Forces 2. So Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, the game I'm currently playing on the channel. That's a adaptation, novel version, Dark Forces 2. It's really good. And the audio dramas as well. And Dark Forces 3 Jedi Knight is straight after it. And short story is Zeltros Pleasure Planet. Didn't hit it when my stream hit an hour 69, but yeah. Tales number 5, Lando's Commandos on Eagle's Wings. They mention Lando having commandos in the X-Wing series, which is a really cool connection, I noticed. Galactic Phrasebook and Travel Guide is cool. Ben Boot was a sound designer. It's cool. Bits and pieces. So there we go. X-Wing Rogue Squadron. That's my latest novel review amongst all my comic reviews. And I'm currently reading Wedge's Gamble, which is cool. I'm really enjoying it, even though I don't get as much time to read as I'd like. Then continues on the X-Wing series, which is really good. And the Courtship and Princess Leia. I listened to the audiobook. It's interesting. Let's see. Why have I got a dollar sign? Yay! Dollars! No. Some things, little details I can fix up, because it's a lot of stuff. I'm not surprised I made a few little mistakes like that. Then we have the ever-famous Thrawn trilogy and the comic adaptations. Really cool. Love the Thrawn trilogy. Super exciting. When I read them, I just feel that excitement that drives me into Star Wars. It's great. And continuing on, we got Adventure Stories, that sort of stuff. Dark Empire, the comics that spurred off the expanding universe. Dark Empire 2, Empire's End. Dark Empire is the main one. It's got an audio drama along with the others, which is cool. The Callisto trilogy, Children of the Jedi, all that, really cool. That 1 to 6 are collected in 30th anniversary collection. And Crimson Empire has a audio drama as well, which is cool. Jedi Academy trilogy, one of my first books that I remember reading outside of the movie novelizations. So that's awesome. They're quite good. I found it really interesting how Luke sets up his new Jedi Order. I love it. Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith is good. That's where he plays Mara Jade, I think. That's one I'll be playing later on. Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. Yeah, people can... I know the complaints about Callisto. I'll see when I read it. Shades of Grey. Mm-hmm. As long as there's 50. Never mind, yeah. Let's see. We got an X-Wing novel amongst the Callisto trilogy, so there you go. X-Wing to cleanse your palate. But then you say about Callista, and then you see afterwards the Crystal Star, and that's definitely one of the ones that no one likes, really. But anyway, no one said that EU always had great material, but it's still connected in the continuity. It doesn't contradict. I don't know if I'll see when I read it properly, but it doesn't contradict. It's just not written that well, from what I've heard. Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. I played this separately. Awesome game. And then we have the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy. Before the Storm Shield of Lies and Tyrants tests, a New Rebellion, all that good stuff. Corellian trilogy, which I've heard is brilliant. Still, some things it's like I need to read that. Hand of Thrawn duology, which is really cool. Union. I find it really interesting that they put something as important as the marriage of Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade just in a comic, not even in a short story or other form. That I'm aware of. Scourge seems a bit of a... I don't remember reading that ages ago. I got that. I don't remember it connecting in too much. Then we have Junior Jedi Knights and Young Jedi Knights, which is the growth of Jaina and Jacen Solo and that generation of Jedi, which is awesome to read because you get the whole journey before someone does a little oopsie and dips into the dark side. But yeah. There you go. That. And then after here, I got a note on Joe's timeline saying the Book of Sith, the last notes are here. So for the Book of the Sith, Jedi Path, and the Bounty Hunter's Code, all there because then the notes, because it could realistically be anywhere after that time, but I put them about there when the last notes were added. And 25 ABY, and a couple of Chaos Comics. And then unknown exact placement in the New Republic era is these three. So if anyone has any idea where these short stories fit that I don't know the exact placement of, please feel free to let me know. Then we get into the new Jedi Order era, which of course starts with the beginning of the Yuuzhan Vong invasion in 25 ABY until the end of the Yuuzhan Vong invasion in 37 ABY. And of course opens up with Vector Prime, the first of the new Jedi Order series. And continues on to the Chewbacca comic. The feels, man. I read that comic and I'm like, oh no. And got Boba Fett, a Practical Man fits there. And like it's in the paperback of Legacy of the Force Sacrifice. And got most of, pretty much, the Jedi Order trilogy series. There's 19 books in it, and then you got some short stories and a couple of comics in between. But noticeably a lot more focus on the novels compared to when you go back to the Old Republic era and look at that, which is really cool. And you got Dark Nest at the end of it, which I put in there. Then the Legacy era. It's really cool. It starts with Legacy of the Force, so it takes place from the end of the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, 37 ABY, and the beginning of the ending of the original trilogy characters' lives is how I've described it. Because this is when you notice that Luke Skywalker's getting older, and he's in his waning. He was in his prime. Now he's sort of gradually going to be going down. So, we got Legacy of the Force, of course. A couple of short stories in between. Cross-Current Riptide, Millennium Falcon, The Fate of the Jedi series, which I still need to read, but it's cool. The last X-Wing novel, awesome. And the last novel of the Expanding Universe chronologically, Crucible, which is also the same name as one of the original Marvel comics has titled. Then we get into some of the later stuff. 104 ABY. So there's a big jump there between 45 and 104. And one of the things there. And then the Legacy Comics, which Volume 2 is later on. Volume 2 is the Ania Solo run. It's cool. So for the end of my timeline, I also put unknown exact placement for the entire timeline, because I don't know where these go properly until I at least read them, or unless someone knows. So that is my Expanded Universe timeline. That, if I get a newer version, I will always be updating it in the description of this video below, and leaving the old links there, of course, as well. Unless it's just fixing something like formatting and stuff that should be fixed anyway. So thank you everyone who joined me for going through of my timeline. If I have the opportunity, I might go through the Clone Wars era with Evan Gamble properly in a separate live stream or video, and that would be good because he knows more about the Clone Wars era. But that is a pretty detailed overview of my timeline. Feel free to talk to me about anything. If you think something's placed a bit wrong, then feel free to talk to me. Let me know why you think that it's in the wrong place and where you think it should be. If you've got anything to help, then yeah, let me know. Any questions, then shoot. Yeah. So what I was saying, it's sad that we didn't get Sword of the Jedi before they cancelled the EU, and yes, I agree. It's also sad that we didn't get Star Wars 1313 and the other content that was lined up. But that's a good segue into the Expanded Universe movement, where we're pretty much people that want to get the Expanded Universe continued as an alternate timeline. And this proves that you can do it, because you can have a completely separate timeline like this from the new canon timeline, and it will make sense to the people that can even do a little bit of research. It makes sense to people even now if you look up the canon tab on Wikipedia and do that. So I'm going to say thank you everyone who joined and commenters. It was good to get a few people commenting and talking about things, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.